Hey guys, today I'm going to show you what quetzalli, SIs, and DC lived. So first, and I made a series in chapter 10, chapter 1, season 10, just before the visitor created all those videos and then got something to it like, oh, this was for chapter 2. So, but I'm not sure. I had to go by memory. I ain't good at memory. So, quetzalli lived in Holly Hedges, and you want to know whose house was his? Well, technically, his house is right here. I thought it was a different color, but it's been so long. So this was quetzalli's house, and you want to know what sister's house was? Sister's house was probably right here, and DC's house was probably either here or here. So, yeah, there you go. That's where the first lived at. That was probably either in chapter 1, season 10, before the Fortnite event, the end happened, or it was chapter 2, season 1. Yeah, I had no idea where this is going. Next place to live. I got to pull out the map again. Next place to live was actually gonna save time. Next place they lived was Bony Bones. Now at the time it wasn't called Bony Bones, it was called something else, but I don't know what it was called. But before Bony Bones, while they was living at Bony Bones, they came here to take a vacation. And basically, SIS and DC shared like the same exact room. Like the both shared this building here or this house, and DC got there. He managed to get it last minute. Wow. I don't actually remember too good, but how about that? But that's where I stayed. I mean, that's where DC, SIs Dragonchu, and quetzalli, I hope I pronounced the name right. Quetzalli stayed, before, this happened. DC at the beach, SIS, DC, and quetzalli was just visiting there for summer break. They stayed there for 3 months and then they came back here to Bunny Bones Mill. Now, there were houses here, the gas station was normal, it wasn't prehistoric times like it was. It wasn't like this. This was back in chapter 2, season 1, I think. So, yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, I believe this is the event when Tony Stark was. Y'all guys know who the Avengers are? They was living here when the Avengers were on. So, y'all guys remember in early chapter 2, season whatever? I mean, I believe the agency. Y'all guys remember the Fortnite event called the Device? The Device ain't happened yet. When the device, before the event called the Device, that's when they first moved here, and then after the event called the Device happened, it flooded everything. Now, when everything was flooded, DC, Sis, and Dragonchu actually didn't have a place to stay. So I kind of just pretend that never happened. But before the event, well, I forgot his name, but you will be on the helicarrier. Iron Man would show up, and you would try to save the device. It was when the Avengers were coming up. You would go to Doctor Doom. You would go to Doctor Doom's place, and you would try to kill Doctor Doom. Then you try to kill Wolverine. Then you try to kill Tony Stark, and then you try to kill another character, and then you get their powers and stuff. But at the time when that was happening, they lived here. But this was back in Chapter 2, Season 1 or Season 2. Or season 3 was everything was flooded. So season 1 and 2. Now before this Pearl Stork thing happened, I believe before that event that had moved again, and they had moved all the way here to they had moved here. Now Sis was gonna originally live here, but Dr. Doom's mansion was right there, and she didn't want to be around Dr. Doom. So when this returned back to normal, cause Sis started living in that penthouse right there. DC started living in this house right here. Cresselia, no, Sis was living in that house there, and Cresselia was living in this house right here, and DC was living in that yellow house. Alright, DC was living in this house, Cresselia was living in that house, Sis was living in that house. I wanted to put Sis and DC together, but I couldn't. So that's where they were living at. When I believe just before the event where the 0 point caused all this stuff, Actually, no. Here's what happened. After the 0 point came into play, if you guys remember, stuff started getting worked out. When those things right there started appearing, when these things right there started appearing, and these walls would start getting close, Sis was like, I gotta get out of here. And DC and Cassell's agreed, so they moved all the way to Retail Row. Now, I forgot to mention this dialogue, but when they were staying in Holly Hedges, they went to Retail Row before, just to stay for a summer break, and then when they moved to Bernie Barsburg because something else, but then they went here to stay for summer break. And then before they moved to Pleasant Park, they also went to Cajun Lake for like summer break. So just like in 3 years. Now it's not 3 years in our time, it's 3 years in their time during the comic, I ain't talking about like, in 2019 they was doing this. I said no. I actually created this back in 2020, so I created the same thing probably back in 2019 or whatever. But to them, it's actually been it's going on 4 years for them, but in real life, it's actually been 6 months because I had to use my imagination. Like the event when Iron Man was to them will be last year for some reason. But Sis and Chris will live in Retail Road, and DC will live in Lazy Lake. So going to Lazy Lake Falls because that's where DC will live. And see, when DC sits and Corsair's with Lazy Lake, Tony Stark had built those antenna things and brought, Stark Industries to this world, and he was modifying the bounty busters at that time. So, yeah. Sorry, I have to do something. But anyway, let's go to Lazy Lake. This was also before you could drive the cars. Now, I remember that you used to be able to fly the helicopter. Right there, I believe Doom had built a base here around that time. You remember this area right here, it was Ghost versus Doom, Midas actually had his Ghost organization there, and then his organization got destroyed and caused a big flood, and after the flood happened, the Doom Legion guys had built their base there. So, yeah. When Doom Legion had built their base there, that's when they was living in where the boneyard was, but it wasn't called a boneyard at that point. And then they just moved. And CTC, the only reason he wanted he kind of wanted to move away from Sis because he's been with Sis for 3 years and he kind of needed some space. 2 reasons. Number one, Sis was, it's no offense, but Sis was kind of a sexy addict, minus the Y. And sometimes she will shove things up his booty hole. I mean, real. So he had to kind of move away from her, his own sister, apparently. And yes, it's coming. So DC lives here. This is where DC lives. He has a patio. He has a little lake with fish. This is where DC lives currently right now. And if y'all guys want to know what Quetzalli and y'all guys want to know Quetzalli and Sis lives. They live over here. And I just gonna show you where they live. And the only reason I moved here is because that thing happened now. Because this alien invasion is going on, I'm not sure what's gonna happen now. In DC, Quetzalli, and Sis over got the aliens. Now, Quetzalli lives here. He lives in this blue house right here. And Sis lives in that brick house right there. And basically, Sis actually basically Sis went in her house and she went outside. Her house got destroyed, so it's like, what's going on? And then she got abducted by the aliens. And when DC woke up, due to a bash game, he saw that there was a spaceship outside. And he actually went outside and saw a giant spaceship. And he was like, what? And then he went to tell Sis he saw a house was destroyed. He went through the rubble, and then he got abducted by aliens. And DC, he was just home, and he's top of the roof of the house got destroyed, and he just woke up inside the alien ship because basically DC was asleep, and the roof of his house got destroyed, and the aliens abducted him that way. And when he woke up to respond for, he was over there in the spaceship, and he was like, did I just get abducted by aliens? This is kind of funny. That's the story so far about Sis. Anyway, this is actually a story for me, by the way. So, Yeah. Okay, bye.